And clapping vibes on another full episode. You want to give me a mic check?
Check.
And we are back once again with the ATP podcast, Around the Post, with your boy Jay, and Mark Figueroa is in the building. My Arden roll. Figueroa.
There you go.
It's a little better. Man, what episode number is this? It's been so long since we were on air. It's like 180 something. It's 180. This is episode 180. All right, cool. I had to look it up. We are on episode 180. For those of you who are wondering what happened, I got extremely sick. I've been out of commission and dying. Do I look skinnier because I lost weight from being so sick? But yeah, we're back. We're still doing video. We're still going to release snippets. We're still on Spotify. Fig, how are you doing?
Good. We have to cover the whole Miami tournament.
Oh, geez.
So that's a lot of covering, but we'll take it the most highlights, the highlighted stuff, and we'll cover it from there.
We'll do the best cliff notes.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to start off with the champions. I just want to talk about them real quick, not really go into them because we'll give them their individual time. But the doubles champions, congratulations to Sophia Kenin and Bethany Maddox-Sands, who won the women's doubles.
Nice.
Obviously, Team USA is trying to build their team for the Olympics. I'll get into that in a minute. Bobana, oldest man, he won with Ebden as well.
Dang.
Big congratulations to him, oldest world number one. And then obviously we have the resurgence of Danielle Collins and Yannick Sinner still doing his thing. So congratulations to them.
Hats off to Danielle Collins for sure.
Yes, exactly. So now we're going to get to the Olympics. Coco Gauff is on the team as of right now. She has the points to qualify for, but she's the only one right now. Last Olympics, which was during the COVID, it was played in 2021 instead of 2020. No U.S. gold. So Team USA has a little bit of pressure to win a gold medal in tennis.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you think they can do it?
It's going to be tricky. You know, we've always had pretty talented doubles. And then, of course, we've always had very dominant women as well. So this is a year where I think Coco Gauff has an opportunity. She really does. The atmosphere in the way that it's ran is not ATP or WTA. So that can play into the favor of players that are able to adapt faster and easier. So I think Coco's got a chance there.
Yes, I agree. It's going to be at Roland Garros. She's good on clay. So I think she could medal. Obviously, the heavy favorite most likely is going to be Iga.
Of course.
So, but she could medal. But here's another interesting topic on Coco. Somebody asked her, why do you wear earphones to go onto court? Naomi Osaka recently no longer does that. She was notorious for doing that. And Coco Gauff said, it's just that I get nervous hearing people cheer for me. So I have to block that stuff out in order for me to be able to concentrate. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess it makes sense. And I will say this, she's stepping into a level of stardom she probably has never had before. So I get it. I do get it. And whatever works, you know, there are athletes in other sports and other trades that do the warm up with headphones, intro with headphones, come out with headphones, and they perform at a great level and they're great athletes. So I think this is fine.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Again, Naomi Osaka would do it and everybody thought she was cocky, but now that she's not doing it, that's been a big question as to why Coco Gauff was doing it. But I will bring up this stat from Indian Wells. I know we missed it, but this is a very dominant stat from Iga. Iga only dropped 21 games in order to win Indian Wells, which is the third lowest in the tournament's history.
Wow.
Monica Seles dropped only 12 games in winning when she did it. Steffi Graf did 16 and Iga 21. What are your thoughts on that?
That's impressive. That is not a tournament where you anticipate people steamrolling players off the court because the court's not super fast. So that's impressive.
Yes.
She's in good company for sure.
Yes, exactly. And it does play slow and to her liking as well.
Yeah.
But in Miami, she definitely struggled. People are starting to find a weakness. They're actually playing her forehand a lot, and it's breaking down. And they're taking a big risk by playing her forehand, but it's working.
Yeah.
Alexandrova, who beat her, Nuskova in the the round before, was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of people are getting aware of how to beat her.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is normal. When you're such a dominant athlete on the tour, people are going to come up with tactics and strategies. And if everyone sees one person find success with something, the whole tour is going to emulate and copy that strategy. But, what we've seen from Iga in the past and what I'm sure we're going to see in the future is, she's going to go back to the drawing board, make adjustments, tweak, make fixes, and she'll adjust and grow from this. And it will make her a better player. So I do think that it is a valid strategy right now. I really do. But I do think that she's going to come up with something for it.
Yes, I agree. And she'll make the adjustments for sure.
Yeah.
Now, the funny story was Osaka. She ended up playing Garcia again. I believe Garcia's 2-1 this year against her. And Osaka said, you know what? I need to get a higher ranking. I'm getting tired of playing this girl. We keep drawing each other. I'm done here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Osaka making that comment?
Yeah, I mean, Osaka, it's funny. She's playing really good tennis. She's proven she can beat Caroline Garcia. And it is hilarious how many times she's drawn this woman. And they keep playing each other. But she's 100% right. It's time to start collecting those points. Maybe play some smaller events. Make some runs, collect points where you can, and get your ranking boosted up so that you can get a decent draw and not have to go to war round one. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yes, she is playing big girl tennis for sure.
Yeah.
So it's just that Caroline Garcia hits hard as well, and she's just probably struggling with that type of ball.
Yeah, and doing that first day of a tournament or round one of a tournament or round two of a tournament is not giving you the opportunity to really find yourself in that event.
Right.
So.
And the big news as well was the return of Simona Halep from her doping. She ended up playing Badosa, and she actually did not look that bad. She was retrieving really well. She played Simona Halep tennis. She was chasing a lot of balls down, hitting a lot of winners. Her serve was a liability, though.
Yeah.
Her second serve, 77 miles an hour. Badosa was just teeing off on it. And she didn't have the defense to back it up. So that's what cost her the match. As a matter of fact, she had to have a physio come out because her shoulder kept hurting her. But other than that, she looked pretty good. Do you have high expectations for Simona Halep?
To be honest with you, not really. I do respect Simona Halep. I think that she's someone I wouldn't want in my draw if I was a player on the tour. But I think that such a physical defensive style of tennis with so much time off, she's going to need a lot of time to get back to where she was. I wouldn't expect to see her make major noise until next year.
Yes, that's possible. What about the French Open? She is a French Open champion. Clay is her event. You don't think she can make a little bit of noise on the clay court event?
She's going to need a very lucky draw. I wish that the French Open and the clay swing weren't so abruptly starting right now for her, because she doesn't have the points she needs to be able to get a decent draw or path to make a run at a tournament. She's going to run into some clay specialists for sure, first or second round. She's in a position where she could draw an Iga in one of her first matches, So I don't have high hopes for her, and not because I don't think she's going to be a good player again. Mostly because I think that the timing is just not there for her. So it'll probably take a year to gather the points, build up the tournament sharpness, and get everything there. If she was more like in the Naomi Osaka timeline, I'd have more hopes for her.
Yes, I can. That's a good point, and she needs to work on that serve a little more.
Yeah, that shoulder, it takes time for it to get back where it needs to be when you haven't been playing aggressive, weaponized tennis and stuff like that. So I understand. It'll come.
Yes, and now there was a little bit of backlash on the return of Simona Halep. Wozniacki was saying it was just a clearance. It wasn't that she was cleared of it. It was just a reduced sentence. She shouldn't have been allowed to come back and play. Now, Simona Halep made a similar statement when she played Sharapova. When Sharapova came back from her ban, she said, "It is not okay to help with a wild card the player that was banned for doping." So I guess it's coming back.
Yeah, karma.
Do you agree with Wozniacki? Do you think that Simona Halep should not have received a wild card?
I mean, let's be frank here. Wild cards should go to people who fill seats. Wild cards should go to legacy acts. Wild cards should go to players that don't have points but are ready to play. I think she's okay getting a wild card. I personally think it's fine. I agree that it sucks that she got doping, but, that's in the past now. She paid her time. She paid her dues. She was off the tour an extended period. That's why she's having shoulder tweak issues and the muscle's not there. And that's also why she has no points.
Exactly.
So, in my opinion, you don't need to kick a person while they're down. They faced whatever punishment was given to them by the council. It's not your job to say whether or not it was a good enough punishment. Just focus on being a player.
Yes, I agree. Maybe she didn't get cleared, quote unquote, but she's there. The board sentenced her. They sort of said, "Okay, you're good."
Yeah.
So it's okay, in my opinion. But karma paid Wozniacki back as well. Right after that comment, she was up a set and 5-2 in her match, and then lost that match after being up a set and 5-2. Do you think that was karma?
That was a choke show. That's what that was. That's unfortunate, but, I think that she's another making her return player, so she's getting better.
Yes, I think that was big time karma. So it was funny that it happened right after she made that statement.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to a little bit of controversy. I think I wanted to keep it to where all the controversies are in one spot, but this one is pretty good.
Okay.
During the Townsend match, typical tournament play. You've done it, I've done it, most likely. When somebody gets lobbed, you get in the way of the lob, so you're covering the ball, and then it goes off of your racket, but your opponent never sees it. And then they call it, it's out. They call it out, but it's because you hit it. But the opponent doesn't see it because you're blocking the view of the ball. Well, Townsend did that in her match in Miami. And the ref said, "I can't, there's no challenge for that. You lose."
Yeah.
And at this point, after that, it was at 5-4, 30 love. And then she loses that point. So now it's 30-15. And she just could not recover from that. She was livid. She went up to the umpire. She even went up to Townsend and said, "You know you hit that ball. Why are you cheating?" What are your thoughts on that play?
I wish I would have saw this, but as much as I do think it's unfortunate, I didn't see it. So I'm going to assume that Townsend did touch the ball.
She did.
She did? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
It's on video. It's there.
Yeah. As the opponent that did not commit the crime here, you've got to be willing to take some blows and have short-term memory in tennis. It's just what it is. Players do get cheated. Players are out there fighting for paychecks. When they say there's no money on the line? There's money on the line.
There's money on the line.
Yeah, so Townsend is probably not going to lie or be honest. So it's unfortunate. It happened, especially in a tight situation, but the tennis pros have to find ways to let it go and let it stay behind them and then get riled up and crazy when the match is over. But in the moment, you've got to put it behind you or get it out, break a racket, whatever players do, and then reset and play. You have to do that because when you get caught up in these moments where you're right, losing is not going to make you feel better. So it sucks. It sucks. But you're right. These kind of things happen in the sport all the time.
Yes.
They really do. People nick a volley on accident and say they didn't touch it. Things like this happen a lot. So, yeah, there's no Hawkeye for that.
Yeah, it happened in the bronze medal match in the Olympics when it was Blake versus, I think it was the Chilean with the big forehand, Gonzalez. And Gonzalez went right at Blake. Blake touched it, or it might have been vice versa. And then the other one said, you nicked it. You know you did. And they couldn't challenge it. So that happens a lot.
Yeah.
So now to a very interesting comment by Navratilova, who does not hold back. She straight out said, Pegula is not good enough to win a slam. She does not have any weapons at all. In order for her to win, a draw has to open up. If not, she's not going to win. Period. That was her statement on Pegula. What are your thoughts on that?
Pegula, if you ever needed motivation to go into the next gear and get a slam, you just got it from Navratilova. And the I told you so, you'd have the opportunity to broadcast could be loud. On the flip side, I kind of agree with Navratilova a little bit. I don't see Pegula being a slam champion either. I just don't. But I'm a big Pegula fan.
Yes.
And I see Pegula being a slam finalist. That's probably... And you know what it reminds me of is the Ferrers, the Casper Ruuds, the people who are rock solid tennis players.
The lower tier, a little bit.
They're the worst of the best.
Right.
You know, they lack that X factor shot to help them cut through against the absolute best on the tour. You know, and I do think that she can change that, but as of right now, she doesn't have that. So I agree.
Yes, I agree too. She just hits too flat.
Yeah.
And she is right. There is no weapon there. If she would learn how to change direction, Martina Hingis won slams without hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
She just knew how to change direction.
Yeah.
So if she could do that, she could definitely improve for sure. And obviously the big news for the women was the Sabalenka news. Her ex-boyfriend ended committing suicide. She said that she was not going to do any interviews. She lost her mind. She did beat Badosa. She got a bye, beat Badosa. And then in the next round, she was just cussing in Russian. She just couldn't get a handle of herself. And obviously there's the comments of, should she have played? Should she not have played? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that she did the right move by playing?
I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to what you should do after something like that. You know, we've seen athletes go out there and break down in tears mid-match. We've seen athletes go out there and completely tank after some traumatic situation happens. But the question is, are you trying to help find a distraction? Do you need something to help you think clear? Or should you take some time off and, you know, recollect and regroup, you know? And I don't know what the right answer is, but what I can say is I'm glad she played tennis.
Yes, I agree. I mean, people deal with problems in a different way, so I actually don't mind at all the way what she did. I don't want to sound like an a-hole right now, but there's rumors, speculation of her love life, and everybody think it's Grigor Dimitrov. Sabalenka.
Really?
So before the new year, I guess her and her ex-boyfriend were broken up, and them two, Sabalenka and Grigor, were on a date with Sissy Dosa.
Whoa.
Badosa and Stefano Tsitsipas.
Oh, wow.
As you know, Badosa and Sabalenka are besties. And then on the way to Miami, Grigor and Sabalenka were spotted on the same flight to Miami Open. So now that just opened up the rumor veil and they're dating. Is that enough for you to say that they may be an item?
It's possible. Grigor Dimitrov, I think he dated Sharapova at one time. So he has dated other pro tennis players. So it's something he's willing to do at the very least. And with Sabalenka, I don't really know her romantic history, but you know, clearly, if they are dating, it's doing well for their tennis. Because that topic will be next, I'm sure, in a bit. But Grigor Dimitrov is playing incredible tennis right now.
Yes.
So whatever is going on in his personal life, keep doing it.
Yes, we'll get to Grigor in a bit when we cover the ATP side. But yeah, he's playing on another level right now for sure. And then lastly, before going to the ATP, I want to give a quick shout out to Sakari, who has been struggling as of late, but these past two tournaments, final, Indian Wells, quarterfinals, Miami. What do you think has changed? Do you think maybe that coaching change helped her?
Oh, I was going to say, we know what changed. The coaching change, and I think also just a mental refresher of having maybe someone new in your corner and trying to be a clean slate and not be wrong about the decisions you made also helps, you know? It's very rare for players to make these crazy coaching changes we're seeing in the end of winter, start of spring of the tennis season. You know, we normally do not see such traumatic circles altered. You know, it's interesting to see. I think that Sakkari is probably going in with the mindset of, okay, I did what I need to do. There's no more excuses. Let's make it happen. And she's probably very focused.
Yes, I agree. She's doing a great job, and I think that her new coach has definitely helped her out for sure. Mm-hmm. So now, quick shout out to Rybakina. She has made 4 finals this year thus far. Miami, Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Brisbane.
Incredible.
What are your thoughts on that?
She's the silent killer right now. You know, she's getting consistently good results. I think we just need her to break through and cut through and win some big events. But yeah, she's looking good. She's going to finals. She's losing to good players. I got high hopes for her.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, she's doing something that is not really done. She said that she's been so fatigued, and that's why she had to withdraw from Indian Wells, that she is not practicing during her off days. So she's just taking a rest time, and then she's just going back on court. Apparently, it's working for her. Do you think that's something that other players can emulate?
I think that you've got to figure out what works best for your body and your schedule. And we do know that some players do what... I mean, I just know a lot about training in general for sports, and I know there's different types. So there's some athletes who train every single day, and they just go, you just train off feeling, which is, I feel really fresh today, I'm going to train hard. I feel a little tired and fatigued today, I'm going to train very lightly. And I think that it's important for you to have the right team and to know your body and to try to get the most out of your time. If you're not going to be able to get anything out of your training that will really contribute to your performance, you should rest, for sure. And also, you have to plan rest. You know, if you do not plan your rest, you will burn yourself out. And so I think Rybakina is clearly doing the right things this year. I want to say she won 1 tournament this year so far, if I remember correctly. So she's off to a good start. She's got multiple finals appearances. She has a title this year. And now it's just peaking as far as how you feel at the right moments. So, yeah, I like it.
Yes, and now... huge shout out to Danielle Collins. She said this is going to be her last year. Although she was asked in an interview, why should you retire when you're playing really good tennis? And she said, well, if I were, and she said because of her disease. And then she said, if I were a man, you wouldn't be asking me this question over and over. She really got agitated. But I don't know. Do you have any comment on that?
So repeat that for me. The media person said what exactly?
He said you're playing the best tennis of your career right now.
Yeah.
Do you think you should probably keep going? And then she said,
if I were a man, you
wouldn't have asked that. Yes.
That's not true. She's wrong. The media asks anyone on the tail end of their career whether or not they should keep going, or if they should stop, or are they going to still retire? Is it time to retire? Is it time to keep going? That's a little odd for her to have that snappy response. You know, how many times have we seen questions about should Murray stop? Should Murray keep going? Same thing. Any player who has a huge reputation and is on the tail end, the questions come up. How many times did they ask Nadal, are you going to stop?
Yes,
are you going to keep going? How many times have they asked Federer, are you going to stop? Are you going to keep going? Djokovic, you keep winning. Are you going to stop soon? You know, I don't like that was her response.
Yes, I agree. But I think, to me, that topic for her is sensitive. And with her saying, I'm going to retire, I think that she means it. And she just wants people to respect her decision, pretty much. That's what I think.
I do agree with that. And I understand where she's coming from. I do respect that she's retiring. And I think it's awesome that she's finding success in her exit tour, because that's the dream of every athlete.
Exactly.
You know, so I don't think she's in the wrong in that aspect, but I do think that her answer was a little odd.
Yes, I agree.
I don't like her answer.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And now, excuse me, first career title, or yes, in Miami Masters 1000. She becomes the second lowest seed ever to win Miami. Osaka was 77 in the world when she won Miami. Danielle Collins in 2022. Danielle Collins 53. And Kim Clijsters when she came back and then ended up winning the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
38 in the world. What are your thoughts on that stat?
I think out of the three of them, the one that is the most impressive is the Danielle Collins. I really like that one. The Kim Clijsters return one was kind of a misrepresented ranking. She was playing at a much higher level than she was ranked. With Osaka's, it's another example of that to me. This is an ex number one player, being ranked. What was she ranked? 70-something, you said?
Yes, 77.
Yeah,
yes.
For me, the Collins is the one where it's like, wow, she probably really is playing at the level of her ranking and still pulled it out.
Right.
Her ranking is not reflective of an absence. It's reflective of the way she's been playing tennis. So, yeah, it's an awesome stat. She deserves it. How cool and crazy it sounds it's on point. It's meaningful. So, yeah, huge shout out to her for playing her best level.
And now the WTA is getting a lot of flack for not keeping the camera on Danielle Collins. When she won, she sprinted to her team. They kept the camera on Rybakina, who was almost in tears because she lost.
Yeah.
And the camera was not on Danielle Collins, who won her first title.
Yeah.
And everybody was not happy for that. What are your thoughts on that?
It just seems like sometimes these camera teams drop the ball a little bit. Whoever's the technical director, whoever's in charge behind the scenes, needs to understand the impact of that, what just happened on the court. A lot of times I think that the staff who are doing the filming and stuff like that, maybe they don't understand the storylines and the narratives of what is going on the court. And maybe someone needs to get in their ear and explain to them, like, hey, this is what's going on out there. If this player wins, this is what that means. If this player wins, this is what that means. And it's not always necessarily the popularity contest. Sometimes it's about the moment. So it's one thing. It's already important that you make sure you have a camera on the person who wins because they won. Secondly, it's even more important when it's a player who's on their exit tour, has never won this event in any aspect, and is having a probably the highest moment of their life career in tennis. And for you to have the camera on the person who lost is just not only insensitive, it's just not smart.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't like that.
Yes, I agree. So now going on to the ATP side, apparently there was a lot of injuries there. People couldn't hang. Berrettini almost fainted. Arthur Cousot, the Frenchman who made it to the third or fourth round of the Australian Open, he was trying to qualify into Miami. He passed out, and he was cramping, and the player that he played against didn't come out to help him. When that happens, people come out. People on social media were tearing him up for not helping him
for his sportsmanship.
Exactly. And then his response was he was cramping from the beginning. So I just thought it was a cramp, not that he passed out.
Yeah.
Do you agree with him?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not your opponent's job to take care of you, and at the end of the day, your opponent can't take care of you. So, did he look a little insensitive? Yes, but at the end of the day, I don't judge him for it. I think it is what it is. Also, I did make a mistake earlier. Rybakina has 2 titles this year.
2 titles. Nice.
She won Abu Dhabi and Brisbane?
Brisbane, maybe? Okay.
Yeah, I think Brisbane. So, my fault for that mistake.
Yes. So now the funny part, before we get into the Miami Open more. Petkic, Martic, she was not happy with how Breakpoint portrayed Medvedev. She said...
I wasn't either.
Yes, she said that he is loved by the locker room. That Breakpoint tried to make him look like an a-hole. And if anybody has a problem with Medvedev, it's only one person, and that's Zverev. Other than that, nobody else has a problem with Medvedev. He is a lovable guy. and he did not deserve to be treated the way he did by breakpoint.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I love that was vocalized, and I can't lie to you. As much as we've endorsed breakpoint, I was a little confused by the portrayal of Medvedev specifically. Obviously, the soundbite of my voice was hyping up Medvedev and speaking very highly of him and saying the impact he's had on the tour. So we love Medvedev. We were probably the only positive thing said about him on that episode. But for sure, it is odd that they did that. And it's great that people are standing up for him, because Medvedev has been, to me, a great face of the sport in a way that is very unique and different. He's not Mr. Political ambassador who's always positive, but he's also very reasonable and very transparent, wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very articulate in his press conferences, and he's a consistent face of success in the sport. So you got love here. ATP loves you.
Yes, he is a great person. He's funny.
Yeah.
He gives funny on-court interviews.
Yeah, he calls someone a little cat or something like that, one of the players on the tour.
And then he even explained his science of why he returned so far back.
Yeah.
And then he was all, Alcaraz was drop shotting me, and now everybody else is too. But then he was all, excuse me, you need to have a clean drop shot in order for that tactic to work.
Yeah.
So he's great. He's funny.
Yeah, he will entertain the press and commentary, and he'll let you pick at his game. And like you said, he'll play that game with media. You know, he's a cool guy.
Yes, exactly. So I agree with I forgot her name right now, but the lady that is on Tennis Channel, Martic.
Yeah.
So I agree with her about the portrayal. But now the big news for the next American hopeful, Darwin Blanche.
Who is Darwin Blanche?
He trains out of the Ferrero El Mosquito Academy.
Okay, good news.
He is the hitting partner of Carlos Alcaraz.
You've mentioned this before.
Yes. As a matter of fact, he even hit with Holger Rune in Miami.
Ooh.
So he's supposed to be the next big junior. He's about 16 years old, top 5 in juniors. Can serve 135, lefty.
Oh, jeez.
Mini Ben Shelton. I believe Ben Shelton called him doppelganger 2.0. So if you want to check out there's pictures of them two together, and they do look alike. There's a resemblance for sure.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the next American hopeful?
Yeah, absolutely. I need to see those baseline groundies. I need to see those groundies because I love Ben Shelton. I think Ben Shelton's an incredible competitor, but the groundies just don't have me fanboying. You know, I'm not in love with his baseline play. So I hope that this kid makes me a big fan.
He definitely has the game in the back.
Yeah.
More than Shelton to me.
Yeah.
So he has it for sure.
Okay. It seems like with American tennis, a lot of times that part is the part that lacks the most, unless you're Korda. Most of the other players have weird kinks and odd things going on in their baseline game that they have to work on as they grow. They're professional level players, but you have to be perfect from the baseline to be a breakthrough top 3, top 4 player. So I hope that I see that in him as well.
Yes, I agree. But there's a lot of bright future there. He does have a little bit of that wild shot selection, but he's there for sure.
Okay.
So now Fabian Marjan. If you don't know who he is, he was basically known for beating Alcaraz in Italy at the Rome Open. He beat Rune 1-1 in less than 58 minutes.
Yeah, it was fast.
He tore him up. And then Rune made him a ton of excuses as to why. We'll get to that in a bit. But Marjan is now inside the top 55. And he's going to be a player to be heard of. Yeah. So he's no longer known for beating Alcaraz in Italy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Sounds like someone to keep an eye on, and those are 2 significant wins. The Holger win wouldn't be as impressive, but the score line is just mind-blowing. 6-1, 6-1, and it's a fast 6-1, 6-1. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. And like we always talk about, finding that consistency and being able to play at that level for an extended period of time. So, we'll see what happens.
Yes, I agree. And now the big news, which was Holger Rune's excuse. He said, I shouldn't have played. I was sick. I wasn't feeling well. I decided to play, but I shouldn't have played. And he pretty much said that's the reason for it, for the loss.
Yeah.
And people on social media said, ooh, I see a Shapovalov situation going on where you're just here and now you're not. First of all, let's answer that question. Do you agree with the fans saying he's Shapovalov?
No, not at all. I definitely don't feel that way. I think Holger has shown high-level tennis this year. I really do. So, has he shown that he's the new big three this year? Debatable. But, excuse me. Otherwise, he's done well. He's had a good year. So, I would not throw him in the Chapo box where Chapo, I think, had a stretch of like 10 straight losses or something like that. You know, that is a crazy losing streak for a guy who had the firepower to beat Nadal at one point.
Yes, I agree.
So, crazy comparison from fans. Very uneducated. I wouldn't agree.
Yes, and now the big story here was the American men. They did not do so hot in Miami. Fritz lost to a Brazilian in the second round. Tiafoe lost early. And then Tommy Paul had to retire with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the American men in the United States not performing so well?
Tommy Paul is playing out of his mind, so I'm not going to write off the American men. Tiafoe has been out of it for an extended period of time, so I'm not going to pick at American men for Tiafoe being in a bit of a rut at the time. But Taylor Fritz, on the other hand, I am a little surprised. We know that he's supposed to make big runs at Indian Wells, and then obviously we'd like to see him make noise anywhere he's at in America when he's playing tennis. So,
right.
So yeah, that's a little unfortunate with him, but I'm not writing off American tennis. I'm not worried about American tennis. Tommy Paul just made a lot of noise.
Right.
And I think that we're fine.
Yes, I agree, and it's hard to back it up, but there's a lot of good up-and-comers coming, so everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
The big news as well was Murray. He was about to win his match. He got it to a tie break, and then he had an ankle problem.
Yeah.
And now everybody was all, oh, man, is he even going to make it to Wimbledon? And he was defiant, and it's, yes, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Murray?
Yeah, Murray rolled his ankle, essentially. I know that it was a ligament this and blah, 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 but Andy Murray's going to heal up. Andy Murray's going to be fine. Andy Murray's playing great tennis right now. Andy Murray is moving well. Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all about Andy Murray, so I will see Andy Murray wherever he wants to be next. I don't think it's going to take him that long to heal.
Yeah, I agree. He's a machine when it comes to this. He's determined, and his determination will definitely put him there for sure. So now we're going to talk about Dimitrov, who actually took care of business fairly easily against Alcaraz.
He did.
As a matter of fact, Alcaraz said, I felt like a 13-year-old boy out there. I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
He beat him in Beijing, in China, and now at Miami. So he has Alcaraz's number. Are you surprised by that?
You know what's funny? Alcaraz is a very athletic, reflex, respond in the moment, improv type of athlete. And he's going against a guy whose embodiment is that. But Dimitrov is actually, and this is something I've said on this podcast before, he's actually a brilliant tactician. He's incredible at figuring out what shots work against what players. He'll take his backhand return early. He'll convert to just chipping. He'll convert to hitting his forehand inside out or inside in, opening up the court. He will come to the net if he has to. He will pick his spots when he serves intelligently. We've seen him make some very impressive runs against the big three at big events. And has he come up short usually? But yes, but We've seen him push Nadal to 5 at Australia. We've seen him push Federer at one point. We've seen Federer emulate what Dimitrov did to beat Nadal. We've seen a lot of impressive things that people don't talk about from him. So it's great to see it all coming together. And yeah, it's unfortunate the way the final went, but I'm not surprised at what he did at Alcaraz. I'm really not.
Alcaraz knew that he couldn't outbang Sinner either. So in Indian Wells, he was hitting more top on his return. You can see Ferrero helped him with getting 3 balls back before he can rip a shot.
Yeah.
The down the line forehand by Sinner inside in was the killer. And Alcaraz started slicing the ball. So now Sinner couldn't hit that down the line shot. So he had a beautiful game plan.
Yeah.
So it appears that that's going to have to be the game plan against Dimitrov as well, because Dimitrov is ripping the ball against Alcaraz and he can't handle it.
Yeah.
So that's going to have to be the tactic for sure. But now we have a one-hander back in the top 10, and it's not Stefanos. It is Grigor playing out of his mind. Now, he has the 3rd longest gap between weeks in top 10. The last time he was in the top 10 was 260 weeks ago. Alberto Costa had 264, and then Gilles Simon had 308 weeks.
Jeez, what
in
kind
between
of
gaps of top 10. Are you surprised that it's been that big of a gap between top 10 entrants?
A little bit. I think that with Dimitrov's his resurgence, let's count COVID. Then let's talk about the dominance of the new wave of players. And I think, don't quote me on this part, I think Dimitrov had an injury within the last 4 years that had him off the tour for a bit. Yeah, I think that honestly, this makes sense because he's physically healthy right now, and he was never not playing high-level tennis. He really wasn't. So I think that him being healthy, him being back, mix in things like COVID and, a few forced gaps in his time on the tour, mixed with having a strategically quality long run on the tour, and it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. But I do think it's a little misleading because it makes it sound like he hasn't played good tennis in 4 years.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense, but he has.
Yeah.
He has. So, after beating Alcaraz, he also beat Zverev. So he now has 41 victories against the top 10 in his career. Is that impressive?
Yeah, he's one of the few people on the tour who has actually beaten Prime Federer, Prime Nadal, and Prime Djokovic. He's one of the few, and don't get me wrong, he's just got one win against each, but he has it. He's done it. It's a notch on the belt. He's done it. He could say he's done it. So.
Yes, I will bring up Grigor a little bit later, but I was going to bring up Sinner, but we'll save him because there's another bomb there. So we're going to talk about, of course, Novak Djokovic splitting with Goran. Goran was definitely a pillar for him to win all these titles. He would slice more. His serve improved. But recently, Goran just said it just got tiring to work with Novak. And there were times where we just couldn't stand each other. So that's according to Goran, and this is out of his mouth. So he said that, it just wasn't going to work anymore. And then Novak said the whole, he did a good job, congrats, and, hopefully you do your own thing, whatever. But are you surprised that they split?
I actually am not surprised they split. I'm surprised at when they split. That I'm surprised at. I thought it was very abrupt. I thought it was out of rhythm. I spoke on this earlier this episode. You don't really usually see significant changes in a winning formula with a player at this time of year. It's very odd because now he's going to have to figure out what he's going to do moving forward. And he's got to figure out if he's going to replace Goran with another coach.
Yes.
So I'm surprised in that aspect. But if we really talk about why Goran got brought to the team in the first place, he did his job,
Big time.
He was brought in to provide insight on the serve, improve the serve, get more free points, and also to bring another dynamic to the mentality and the shot selection in the matches. And he did both of those things lights out perfectly. I think they were posting the statistics of how many Grand Slams they won together, how many finals they saw together, and all the numbers are dream numbers. So I think that, yeah, he came and did what he was supposed to do. And if he would have left a year ago, it would have still been okay because he did what he was supposed to do. So, yeah, I think everything's good.
Goran even said, when you're the coach of Novak Djokovic, if you win 3 out of 4, that's considered a bad year.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that's what it took to break the camel's back, because he only won Grand Slam semifinal loss, and apparently that was it. Rumor has it that he needs a new voice to be able to beat these newcomers, these Alcaraz, Sinner, not newcomers, but the next gen.
Yeah.
And Goran just didn't have the answers anymore, supposedly.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do think that Goran was brought in for like I said, a specific mission. He completed the mission, and trying to assign him missions he wasn't brought in for can be a little bit naive.
Yes.
No one has ever brought in Goran after he contributed the way he did to a lot of people's careers. I think he's gotten people slams. I think he's gotten people their highest ranking in their careers. We've seen him make huge impacts on players, and Djokovic is no different. But I 100% think that he did his job, and it's time for him to move forward. Whether they kept Goran on and brought another voice in, that would have made sense also.
Right.
But them taking him out does not surprise me, and I do think that Djokovic does need a little bit of a refresh mentally. And he's going against guys who are great movers just like he is and hit the ball harder than him.
Yep.
So he's got to come up with some solutions.
Again, I will bring that up a little later, but yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So now the rumor of who's going to be the next coach. Djokovic has tried to silence that stuff and said, I'm on my own. I'm just going to see how I do.
Yeah.
But the rumorville is Marian Vida, who was his coach. Now, if he does rehire him, this is the third time. Marian Vida and Goran Ivanisevic were on the team together, and then Marian Vida stepped down. Boris Becker, who was there.
Yeah.
The interesting one is Zimonjic. Saying, oh, okay, we need a double specialist. Let's get some hands in there, some chip in charging. He's been rumored to be the next coach of Djokovic as well. Who do you think of those three would be logical to be Djokovic's next coach if he were to choose one?
Honestly, for me, it'd probably be Boris. I think that Boris has the great balance of the hands coming forward, the mental aspect of the game, and having good history with Djokovic in that regard. Now, from what I understand, they kind of parted ways because of off-court dynamics, which were him having influences on Djokovic that were not as ideal for a family man who's trying to have a prestigious career on the tour and stuff like that. And maybe he was bringing some other things along with him personality-wise that he wasn't supposed to. That's just a rumor, but that could be the only thing I'd say would be a hiccup. I think Boris he's almost a balance of what Zimonjic can do as well. He has some of that in his tactics as a singles player. So I think that he'd be the choice for me.
That's a very good point. I was going to just go with Zimonjic right away, but you bring up a good point with Becker.
Yeah.
But the logical one would probably be Marian Vida, who he had from the get-go.
It's a safe answer.
It's the safe answer.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the most logical choice. But now we're going to talk about the dramas in the Miami Open. Obviously, the big one was Casper Ruud, but and Zverev as well. But there were some faulty machine issues. People were saying we need line judges back. So there was a crucial point in a women's match with Kazatkina and Kristea. A ball was called. It was a serve. The ball was called out, but it was in, and the machine missed it, and the umpire did not overrule the call of the machine. and it went against Kazakhina. And on social media, so can you imagine if that was at 5-5? It was at 4-2.
Yeah.
So they'll bring back the line people, because now when that happens, now they have challenges, so they can challenge on their own.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying, well, when you have the machines, it takes that away, because if you run out of challenges out of 5-5, how are you going to challenge?
Yeah.
So what side are you on, machine or line judge?
I still lean towards the machine side, but I do think there needs to be a balance. You know, there needs to be a checks and balances act in place, because clearly the machines are not perfect. So what are we going to do about that? That's my question. We've had way too many major issues with there not being with line judges in the past, and we've had a lot less drama and issues with machines. Obviously, this one issue happens and it's getting blown up, but how often are these issues happening with a machine? How often? It's very rare. So, yeah, I think that there just needs to be some form of a challenge, checks and balances, camera replay, verification system involved.
Yes, exactly. So I agree. I still go with Hawkeye. They're actually thinking about doing it at the French Open now, not this year, but the following year. So if they're willing to do it,
that's it.
How
That's
can
game
you?
over.
Exactly. Excuse me. We talked about the drama with Holger Rune. That was a big one for the Miami Open as well. Now this was the big one, which is Casper Ruud, who really doesn't say much. He had a lot to say. He said, "This is the worst tournament ever. They are cheap. They don't take care of the players."
Yeah.
And he said it publicly. And James Blake, who has been loud on the internet lately, we'll get into that next week, had something to say about that. But first of all, what are your thoughts on Casper Ruud saying that the Miami Open is the worst tournament on tour?
It's probably not the worst tournament on tour, but I do understand where he's coming from with the Masters 1000, fresh off of Indian Wells, where you've got a multi-billionaire funding the event, almost not caring about profit, and then you land in Miami, and it's ran by, sticks and stones, and I think like an equity firm owns Miami, and James Blake's just the face that you yell at. From what I understand, the Miami Open is actually in a bit of a transition period right now. Switching venues, investor owners, and having a new guy running it as the tournament director, James Blake.
Right.
I think that the players are getting the brunt of what's happening because the transition is just so big, and that's unfortunate, and Casper Ruud is probably telling the truth about everything he's saying, but I think that all those things over time should get fixed and addressed. So he's just got to bear with it. Yes,
he complained to the chair umpire that there was a shortage of water and lack of towels.
That's wild.
So he said, how can a Masters 1000 do this? Well, James Blake had a response, and he said, I understand his anger, but if he had something to say it privately, and then we can discuss and come up with solutions. Don't do it when you're losing a match, pretty much. Do you agree with James Blake?
I think James Blake sounds very wise, and he sounds like he's being the bigger man. But at the same time, how heard are players going to be if they only say things in private? Now the tournament has a little bit more accountability they have to face. So I kind of side with Casper Ruud here. I don't know how impactful the players' words are behind the scenes. I really don't. But what I do know is with the entire internet and event goers and stuff, and even other players getting the opportunity to see another player speak out, it creates a platform, and it makes things get done. So I actually like that it happened.
Yes, you actually brought up a good point. At first, I was on the side of James Blake because it is. I truly believe that if you have something, just say it to me and then we can deal with it. But you're right, as far as this is concerned, if it's not brought out in public, then how are people going to know? The word spreads. And as a matter of fact, Zverev was complaining about the same thing. Not the lack of water and stuff, but he was saying that on center court, it plays faster than on the outer courts.
Yeah.
And it was hard to accustom to that.
Yeah.
And he said all courts should be playing the same.
Yeah.
So he had a complaint as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and obviously when you put everything out on a public platform, we start to hear the voices that maybe were smaller and scared to speak out, players that are less successful who don't want to complain. Now they're going to go, the courts are different speeds. Yeah, I don't have an actual trailer. I'm sitting outside in a tent, whatever they're going through. And so I think it was actually a good idea from Casper Ruud. I don't know if his intentions were that good.
I don't think they were.
I don't think so either. And kind of like you said, man to man, talk to me on the side, please.
Yes.
But, at the same time, I do think that what Casper Ruud what he did is probably going to help other players.
Right.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and then just for the snippet part, again, the other drama at Miami was Holger Rune getting eliminated 1-6, and then making the excuses of, oh, I was sick, I shouldn't have played. So that was the drama of the Miami Open. So now we're going to talk about Grigor again. Now this is going to lead into our final topic. He was asked who's his toughest opponent ever. It's not Djokovic. It's not Sinner, who just beat him pretty handily. He said it was Roger Federer. And people did not appreciate that on social media. They're like, whoa, Djokovic he owns you. Sinner just destroyed you.
Yeah.
How can you say that?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Grigor saying that Federer was his toughest opponent?
Look, I've heard from other players on the tour similar sentiment and thoughts, and so I understand what he's saying. And let me recap a little bit. So we saw Nick Kyrgios say that you play Djokovic, and it feels like he hits a lot of balls right in your wheelhouse, but he just doesn't make any mistakes. He never has a dip in performance, and when you have a dip, he capitalizes. But when you play Federer, you almost feel stupid sometimes. He has an uncanny ability to hit shots and play on the court in a way that makes you feel lesser. And I think that's kind of what Dimitrov is getting at, which is when I played Federer, it seemed like it wasn't even about tactics. It seemed like he was just making me look dumb out there on the court. He was hitting a lot of shots I couldn't handle. He was doing a lot of things that basically made me look like the lower level player. Djokovic doesn't do that to players. Djokovic is just an absolute dog machine.
Right.
I do think Nadal sometimes does that to players. I think he can steamroll someone really bad, but he was not doing that against Dimitrov. Him and Dimitrov, as much as he beat Dimitrov, their matches were relatively competitive in some way. And I do think when you play people that don't steamroll you off the court, you always feel like you had a chance if you played better, even if that's not true. So I get what he's saying, and I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he has the right to his own opinion. Obviously, he emulated Federer's game.
Yeah,
it's his. That's how he plays.
Yeah,
and his balance is beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why he emulated his game. So I agree with him.
Yeah.
And now the big news, which is Djokovic. So there is an Italian player who played in the 60s. He's made a lot of controversial topics before. And he said Djokovic's game is outdated. He said the new way to play is the way Jannik Sinner is playing. Big, hard strokes. But not only does he hit hard, he opens up the court hitting hard. And he moves just as well as Djokovic does. So he's saying that Djokovic is outdated. And the Italian tennis player is Adriano Panetta. He's made a lot of comments.
Okay.
We've talked about him in the past.
Him.
Yes. What are your thoughts on him saying that Djokovic's game is outdated?
I don't want to call it outdated. I would say it's not the newest type of tennis on the tour, but it's not outdated. If Djokovic's style of play is outdated, there's a lot of players on the tour whose style is outdated. A lot. So it's a loaded statement because I get what he's saying. It's not the way that the newest players are playing, but it is also a successful way to play tennis. And you take a couple losses and all of a sudden you're a dinosaur. What you do doesn't work. You're outdated. I don't think those things are true. I think he needs to make small adjustments to the way he already plays tennis and he'll be fine. That's what I think. Do I think that Jannik Sinner does move just as well but hits harder? Yeah, I do. I think that's true, but I think that Djokovic is a master at sequences and figuring out what shots, what spots, what locations, and what type of sequences and exchanges work best for him, and we will see a response. He can change direction on both wings. He can cover the court. I don't know if he's going to hit the ball harder, but I do think that we might be surprised at what he's able to do moving throughout the year.
Change of direction is still change of direction. That's still a big
timeless
part of tennis. Yeah. I mean, Martina Hingis, as I mentioned earlier, who hit slow, was beating Serena, one of the hardest hitters in WTA history, by just changing direction.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, which bring me to the last topic, which is Federer. Mm-hmm. Now, Federer made a statement in Indian Wells, but since this guy made this statement, he said everybody's playing the same, big, hard hitting, and it's kind of boring to watch. He said, you need to have a mixture of styles, but everybody right now is just hitting hard.
Yeah.
Do you think it's boring to watch? Do you agree with Federer?
I don't agree it's boring. I don't think it's boring to watch at all. I really don't. But I 1000% agree that someone is going to shift the pendulum. Someone is going to figure out how to diffuse all this power. We'll see a return of somebody who's an elite counterpuncher. We'll see someone who's able to neutralize heavy hitters, cut off the ball, and remove time. Because you can't hit hard like that and run around when you don't have time. And we're going to see some major shifts and changes. But I don't think Djokovic will be the person who does make that change.
Yes, I agree.
I do agree with, or I do think that. So we'll see. Obviously, the struggles of someone like a Medvedev is that he gives so much time to these young guys that they're able to really crack the ball. Djokovic obviously isn't hitting big enough or taking the ball quite early enough to take away time from these guys yet. And so someone else is going to have to do it.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know who it'll be, but I don't think it's going to take as long as we think.
Yes, and just to close it out real quick, people are just so... They bounce off the wall real quick. They change their minds real quick. Again, Djokovic loses one tournament. He should retire. Sinner wins. Rightfully so. He wins Australia. He wins Rotterdam. He wins Miami. And now it's, he's winning the French Open.
Yeah.
Although that's his worst surface.
Yeah.
Then you have Alcaraz, who's been struggling. He's a thing of the past. Although he just beat Sinner.
Yeah.
So people are just fickle. Yeah. And they're just going to go with what's current.
Yeah. You've got to think big picture for sure. And like I said before, I really think that this big, crazy swing in tennis, it makes sense. But it is not sustainable.
Right.
It's just not. People are going to expose it. There will be players on the tour who are able to diffuse all that power and open up the court. And we'll start seeing a little more like the Nick Kyrgioses, the Dimitrovs, the guys who have a huge bag of tricks. And they bring them out, and all of a sudden, just hitting hard's not enough.
Yes.
We know Nadal was saying that there's no strategy out here right now. Everyone's just clubbing the ball.
Yes.
I think Nadal actually would have been a great answer to a lot of this.
Oh, for sure.
But he's not here, so, we'll see when he comes back.
Yes, because he can counterpunch and he can rip it. Exactly. I think right now, Alcaraz could be the answer.
Yeah.
Yes. So
the problem is he's the problem and the answer.
Yes, exactly.
But he will be the answer for Sinner.
For Sinner, for sure. Yes. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. This was a long one. We covered all of Miami. Next week, we have pickleball versus tennis. Hilarious stuff. So it's going to be entertaining. So with that, I hope you guys were entertained.
Adios.